الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear respected brothers and sisters, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know a lot of people are very hungry here. I'm sure I can smell the biryani, I'm sure everyone else can. But just to cut things short, I would like to advise my young friends, all the participants today, alongside all the parents, because I believe that if the parents do not support their children, then the children cannot perform to their best of ability. So the children always need the upper hand, which is always the support of the parents. So my topic, which I've been told to speak about, is about the Annual Qur'an, memorizing the holy book of Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, I don't want to go into lengthy conversation about the history of the preservation of the Qur'an or anything, but I just want to touch upon four very important vital points, especially when you're memorizing the Qur'an. The first, most important thing is not just based with the Qur'an, but also when you do anything good in our religion, you always have to have a very clean intention. Very clean intention. So the parents, alongside the children, they should have the right intention of memorizing the Qur'an. So if the parents have an evil intention from inside for fame or for anything else, then that will affect the children, because there will be no consistency later on. Likewise, the children should always only have one intention of memorizing the Qur'an, which is the happiness of Allah Azza wa Jal at all times. It shouldn't be for any other reason. Ultimately, you should have before you start the Tahfidh Qur'an, to have the right intention, which is to always for Allah Azza wa Jal to ultimately be pleased with us. So that should be done daily. Sometimes we open the Qur'an and we have no intention. We just read it because it's become a norm now. It's become your duty to read every day, 6 o'clock in the morning if you're memorizing. You just open it because your mom and dad have told you the night before, you've got to revise. But you have no intention. You don't know what's your intention. Likewise for the parents. Parents should have intention each time they instruct their children. For what purpose am I instructing my children? It's for the happiness of Allah Azza wa Jal. And only then Allah Azza wa Jal will help us throughout our Hifz program. The second very important point is consistency. A lot of the times parents, they start their children for a certain type of education, whether it be Islamic or academic, but it starts off very well. So, for example, the children they'll be early for their lesson for the first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but as time goes, parents start to become a bit lazy, they take odd days off, or we make a few excuses, and before you know it, weekly they're 2 days absent. Now, if you count 2 days or a day, week absent, and you add it up to the whole year, at the end of the year, you've got over 50 days. Now, if you count 50 days of a lesson, how many pages of the Qur'an could a child have learned in 50 days? That's just 1 day. And there's many parents that take more days off, and that's because you've got consistency with the Qur'an is vital, because if you don't continue this, the Qur'an will leave the minds and the hearts of the Muslims. Especially with Tahfidh al-Qur'an. Whereas tajweed can be revised every so often. The Tahfidh al-Qur'an is something that has to be in your daily routine. So when you wake up in the morning, you should read the Qur'an. The next day, the same thing throughout your life. Because this is a lifetime commitment. It's not just a commitment for 3-4 years, it's a lifetime commitment that Hafidh or Hafidha has taken upon. So consistency for the parents, this is more important with the parents. Parents are the ones who transport their children to their classes. And you're the one who can urge and push the children that no, you have to attend today's lesson. It's very important for you. Even though it might sound that 1 day off in a week, it's nothing. But to be honest with you, that one day has put your child back now. That's 1 day of damage. You might not realize that now, but you will realize at the end of the year, like I said, when you count up all the absences. Once you've taken up on the first 2 points seriously, so you had the right intention, you've taken into task that you will be consistent in bringing your child, transporting him to his class or his madrasa. The third point is your goals. What goals do you have? The parents have to sit down with the child, likewise the teachers with the child, and have some goals. You've got to set some goals. If you don't set no goals, then the child doesn't know where he's going. He has no pace. and what that will happen, eventually the child will keep decreasing, eventually he's not learning anything. So always, as parents, on a daily basis, you should always take account of what the child's learned and ask him, where will you reach tomorrow? And this, you should set goals. So it's very important that when you're doing Hifz al-Qur'an, always set goals. Always, how much muraja'ah are you going to be doing daily, how much are we going to build up to, and how much new lesson are we going to build up to. For example, someone started off at half a side, they will increase to one side, two side, three side. Eventually, when they've done more than 15 juz of memorization, they should be memorizing 2 or 3 pages a day. And that's only when a child has set a goal. If a child hasn't set a goal, he doesn't know where he's going. Even though he's memorizing the Quran, but he doesn't have the right guide. So it's very important we take these first 3 points seriously. And like I said, Allah Azza wa Jal, He has said that we have revealed the Quran and we are responsible for the preservation of the Quran. And the preservation comes in many forms. One of the preservation of the Quran, it is not limited to age. You see young children at the age of 8 years old, they become their Hafid. Children at the age of 13, they have become Hafid. Grown men at the age of 40, they have just turned, they have memorized the Quran. To the extent where I heard recently, somewhere in Leicester, there was an old man at the age of 65. He started memorizing when he was 35, and he finished the full entire Quran at the age of 65. So it's not about the children, only the children can memorize the Quran, but no, it's even the parents and even elderly people can commit themselves too. So this is a long-term commitment. Once someone's memorized the Quran, or they are memorizing, the harder part, we know that to memorize it's virtuous. Allah Azza wa Jalla, the Prophet has mentioned many rewards in the hadith. But later on in life, it's a lifetime commitment. You can't just memorize it and leave it. It's not like you've got a bachelor's degree, you've got the degree now, you can leave it and relax. Now it's something that you've got to keep on all your life. Because the Quran will leave the hearts. The Quran will leave the hearts faster. Before you can even believe the Quran will leave the hearts if you completely neglect the Quran. Now neglecting the Quran doesn't mean you just recite it and you live the life of a disbeliever, where you live the way you want, disobeying Allah Azza wa Jal. Is you will act upon the Quran as well, what the Quran is ordering you to do. So the Quran says that you should not be backbiting. As a Hafiz, you should not be backbiting. If the Quran says that we should not lie, as a Hafiz, you should be not lying, because this is following the commands of the Quran. That's why Umar radiallahu anhu, it's very famous that Umar radiallahu anhu, when he took over 13 years just to memorize Surah Al-Baqarah. 13 years. Now, on average, a child can memorize Surah Al-Baqarah within 2.5 years almost, maybe in about 2-3 months. Okay? But he took over 13 years. He said, after every verse I memorized, I had to make sure that I have to put that into practice in my life. So if Allah Azza wa Jalla is instructing something, it wasn't just into my memory, but it was also in the amal, it was also a practice of mine that I'll make sure I practice on the verse practically. So this is how the Salaf al-Salih, righteous people, used to live their life. That they weren't just Hafid or Hufad of the Quran, present. It wasn't that they used to preserve the Quran, but they used to also act in the Quran. That was the way of preservation. Because people used to understand the Quran by looking at the way they used to live their lives. It wasn't just they used to read and people used to think, wow, this is a great Hafid or a great reciter. They used to think this is the real preserver of the Quran. Why? He hasn't just preserved it by his lips, also through his actions. So it's very important that we take upon these four points. I know I've taken a bit more time than I should have, but inshallah ta'ala, if we bring these 4 points into our lives, believe it or not, inshallah, Allah Azza wa Jalla will definitely help us through our Hifz scheme. May Allah Azza wa Jalla give us the ability to act upon what has been said.